hiking down that mountain, the last thing I expected to find was flowers. I was hoping for a tub of Bengay. But I didn't expect it. It was a complete surprise. And when Mary came to the tomb, she didn't come expecting to find Jesus risen. She came in grief. She came in loss. She came hurting and doubting, frustrated, maybe angry. Instead, she found Jesus alive. Where she came looking for death, she found life. I was shocked when I saw those flowers. She was shocked when she went to the tomb. Her grief was worse, her pain worse, her loss worse. But the surprise was even greater. You know what? That's how God works, though. Surprises. God surprises us. And when that happens, it can be confusing. They were puzzled, it says. They were puzzled. They didn't know what had happened. They didn't know what had gone on. They were trying to think, what had happened? What had happened to Jesus' body? They were not expecting it, and it was confusing. And then they go back and they tell the apostles. They say, hey, look, this is what happened. And there's a group of them. There's Mary, Joanna, the other Mary, plus several others, so maybe a half dozen of them. They go back. They tell the apostles. They say this is what happened. The apostles, what? Sounds like nonsense. That doesn't make any sense. Who does that? Nobody rises from the dead. It doesn't happen. You know? Who does that? Who puts flowers on graves if nobody's been there for 80 years? Who does that? It doesn't make sense. Easter is confusing. And you know, it happened 2,000 years ago. It's this big, huge, important thing. It's probably the most important thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. You look at all the changes that have happened. You know, you go through the history books. You can read all the wonderful things that people did because of Jesus' resurrection. You can look at all the terrible things that people did because of Jesus' resurrection. You know, it changed the world. All this is great. But how does it help me with my taxes? How does it help when my kid's getting bullied at school? How does it help me find a job? You know, Easter is this great, wonderful thing, change the world. What does it mean for me? What does it mean when I'm struggling? This epic, huge, monumental thing we're all still wondering. We're all wondering, what does it mean? And what Peter did, I just love it. Because I think all of us are like Peter, you know. Peter runs to the tomb, he looks, he sees it for himself, and then he goes away, and he's trying to figure it out. Peter doesn't even understand. He's still trying to figure it out. And you know, it took them, the disciples, the apostles, once Jesus appeared to them and showed up, it took them years to figure this out. It took them years to figure out what it meant that he rose from the dead. You can read about it. There's these big meetings that they had. Peter and Paul get into this fight over what it means. It took them years. It took really 300 years for Christians to figure out what it meant. It's confusing. It's hard to get our brains around. But you see, when they did figure it out, when they got it, that's when everything changed. Because then they started doing crazy stuff. Then they started going to places that they'd maybe only even heard about. Then they started going to talk to people that they didn't know. They went to far-off lands, talking with strange people. And they didn't bring, they didn't move with their furniture. They didn't bring tons of money. They showed up with the clothes on their backs, the sandals on their feet, maybe a little bit of money, and they just started telling people that Jesus had risen from the dead. And terrible things happened to them. Most of them suffered. Some of them died. Some of them in terrible ways. But they went gladly. They were happy to do it. They couldn't shut up about it. They couldn't stop talking about it. There was nobody that could get them to. And what they figured out, you see, what they figured out it meant was just that death was no longer the end.
Amen.
That's it. That's all it was. That little thing is what changed everything. See, standing here, for most of us, death is like a wall, right? And you go along in your life, and then you hit the wall, and that's it. And it's done. Everything that you loved is gone. Everything that you cared about is gone. Everybody that you loved, wanted to spend time with, it's all gone. All your money, all your possessions, all your everything, it's all gone. You hit that wall, and it's over. Done. So, you better enjoy yourself while you're here. That's kind of the way we look at it. I mean, you better do what you want to do while you're here, because you're only here for a little while. You better do what you want, because you got a limited amount of time. And once you hit that wall, it's done. It's a philosophy of scarcity, that we don't have enough. And so before that end comes, we better do what we can with our lives. Death limits us, and it affects every choice we make. Because every decision, everything we decide is based on the understanding that we don't have enough. That we're going to hit that wall, and it's all going to run out. And so Jesus comes along, and he takes out a chisel, and he takes out a hammer, and he puts a door in that wall. He creates a way through, and suddenly the limits are gone. Now there is no restriction. Now there is no end. There is no scarcity. It doesn't run out. It doesn't stop. That means no fear. You don't have to worry about losing. You don't have to worry about not having. You don't worry that you won't be able to see people, spend time with them, hang out with them, love them, hug them, laugh with them, kiss them. You don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that because we have forever. We have forever to love them, forever to be with them, forever to be near them. You know, obviously people die. Obviously there is still a separation that happens. I get that. We all are going to hit that wall. But there's a door in it. So we don't have to forget about it. Don't have to forget the things that were important. We can still celebrate their birthday. We can still remember our anniversary. We can still do the things that we need to do. We don't have to wonder if their life was in vain. It's not, because it's not over. It's going to continue. They're going to come walking back through that door, and we'll be together again. And then there will be no limit. There will be no more wondering if what we have is enough. Because it is. You know, death, it just dominates so much of our thinking. It dominates so much of the choices that we make. Because we're afraid that we're going to lose. You know? We're afraid that people are going to be gone. We work so hard to save money. Why? So that we can retire. Why? So that we can enjoy life. Why? Because we have to do it now before we die. We go to great lengths to protect ourselves. We buy huge cars. We put in security systems. We make sure that our kids are in the best schools. We do all of these things because we're afraid that if something happens, we won't be able to see them, won't be with them, won't be near them, we'll be separated. We won't. We don't have to be afraid. It doesn't last forever, but you would just get bombarded with it. Take a look at any TV ad, any magazine ad, any newspaper ad, any ad for anything. It will tell you what you're lacking. It will tell you you don't have enough. It will tell you that you are scarce in some area. Everything is based on death. Everything. When Jesus put that door in the wall, he undid all that. He undid the limits. He undid the limitations. You actually have all the time in the world.